This was a commission piece that a friend of mine requested me to do. It's for her friends that are getting married, actually, this weekend. And so I wanted to record the process because a lot of times I don't get to record because there's just so much going on. It's like I got to do the thing, record the thing, set up the thing. And so sometimes it's a little difficult for me to record my process, but I'm getting better. Here I'm just popping the bubbles to get some of that out before I lay in the flowers. And then now I start to lay in the design. The previous video I uploaded, you could see sort of what I was going for. I do that just to show to the client so they get a sense of what it may look like in resin. And now everything is going to be set up. So once you start with resin, there's no going back. As you can see, I'm like pressing down the flowers a bit. I tried flattening these a bit just because the tray isn't super deep. This is a tray side table. And so I'm using the tray portion that comes off the table. You can kind of set them on anything, you know, another space or whatever, or you can use the base that's provided. So I'm using the tray itself as the mold, and it will stay in this mold, and you just place it on top of the base that it comes with. So this tray isn't super shallow. It's about an inch thick. And so a lot of times flowers, really big roses, are pretty large. And so a lot of times you will press flowers, but that takes a little bit of time, and you can ruin the look of the flower sometimes if it's not done properly. I'm not the best yet at it, but I tried just pushing them down slightly, just so that they fit. These filler flowers that I'm adding like underneath, like these orange fluffy ones, these mini roses. There's also some other leaves and shrubs that I got. They are dried flowers that I bought offline. And that sometimes helps because you don't want a lot of huge flowers. I didn't want all huge flowers in this. I wanted definitely some smaller accent flowers to go with it. So I bought a lot of these online. They were already previously dried, so I didn't have to worry about drying them because that adds to the time that I wanted to get this piece out. But the bigger flowers I dried myself, and then the other flowers are filler flowers. They make really, really great additional pieces to add to your bouquets. And essentially, I'm just putting a bouquet of flowers in resin. This leaf right here broke. So I had to take that out. The thing about dried flowers, they can break. So you have to be really, really gentle with them. And so here I'm just picking out some things that fell in. There's a lot of dust. I work in my basement, and so where I work at, the ceiling is not super closed. So sometimes dust particles fly into the resin, and I have to clean them out all the time. Here I'm just adding the last few pieces that I thought could help just to give it some depth. And as I go up in the layers of resin, I will start to add stuff on top. So that little rose petal piece will go in after another layer of resin just to add some dimension, and not everything is on the base layer. Trying to even it out. So this is me coming back about 6 to 8 hours later. Always read the back of your resin. It tells you when to recoat everything. So this is me just pouring another layer. I still did a smoky black resin so that I still get that deep, dark depth with the flowers. And then the very, very top layer will be clear resin, so you see everything. But here I'm just popping out the bubbles. You want to use a heat gun and not a torch, so you don't burn the flowers, because that will happen. You can also use denatured alcohol as a good option as well. Here is the next day, and the resin has solidified. So now I'm just adding in little additional accents that are on the uppermost layer with the resin. So it'll give it a little bit of depth. You have all these really heavy body flowers on the bottom, and then you have all these sort of like little petals and things on the top. And then I just encase those in resin as well. And then I'm also gonna add a few extra little details, like little orange buds, things like that, to just give it a little more. You definitely want it to be full here. And I've also left a space there because I think I want to add a name. So the couple's name and the wedding date. So see there, the little orange buds, a little yellow leaves and other things, some loose rose petals, and then some vintage carnations that I had drying that were dried. And so I've added those in there as well. So here I'm just cleaning up dust and other things that have fallen in since I've been adding more resin. And then the next day I'm going to sand. So it's the next day, and I want to make sure that I get these tops as flat as possible. They don't have to be super flat, but basically you just want to sand down any of the flowers that peek through the top. And so what I'm doing here is just taking off the bulk of the top of the flowers. You'll still see a good amount of the rose underneath, but this is just to get it flat enough, at least under the lip of that tabletop, so that we can pour another layer of resin on top and for our finishing layer. Also use some 91% alcohol just to clean off any residue, debris, to prep it for resin. There are some white specks in the tops of the roses, but I did pick them out with a pick, so that I could pour this final layer. Here I'm just going over everything with a blowtorch, and this will get all of the bubbles on the surface. I should have waited like 15-20 minutes to do this because sometimes the bubbles do come back, but I was impatient. So this is me doing that, and then I'm just cleaning up any little bubbles that form. After that, poking them with a pick, and hopefully that will get the last of those. I wanted to personalize this piece because my husband says that my products look like they came from a store. In a good way. It's a very good thing. But I wanted to make sure that I put their names on it, so it is their piece with their wedding date, and they can always see it and look back and remember. And this is the day after. I let it sit for a full 24 hours before I did this, so that everything was solidified and hard and ready to go. And I'm wearing gloves just to not get any fingerprints on it. And of course, this is always nerve-wracking to make sure that the transfer tape comes off in one piece and not sticky and all of that. So here I am struggling with that, but that's what it'll look like. And it's the same process for the name, the date. And so I just do that after this, but you don't need to see that part. And here is our final reveal. This is just the tray top without the base, so you can see what that looks like. It came out really, really beautifully. I'm super happy with it, and I hope that they really enjoy this for years to come.